Alright everyone, Bungie just straight up dropped probably one of the most important blogs before Lightfall, so let's just jump straight into it. Alright, so by now you all have read over a bunch of this or seen another creator talk about it. So in this video, I just want to kind of go over the main parts and give my opinions on everything. Since this channel is so heavily based around build crafting, we're going to see a lot of these changes go forward in Lightfall, and I'm honestly really excited. So first off, we have loadouts, and they have some images of what they look like. As you see, you're just going to be able to swap them in and out. It shows your weapons, it shows your armor. A lot of this is very cool. As you see, it says quickly swap entire sets of gear without numerous trips to the vault or having to open a second screen, decrease time in between play sessions caused by needing to rebuild a loadout, and create ways to label loadouts for quick identification. So as you see, they have a raid custom loadout. I'm not really sure that that's going to be a solid raid loadout in the future with double primary, but that's really cool. So in this picture, you see there's 3 slots unlocked for the warlock. They have a total of 6, but you can get all 10 of them unlocked once you complete all the guardian rank systems. So we're gonna have 10 loadouts to select through, which is honestly really good. You can have like 5 for PvE, 5 for PvP, or if you're just mainly a PvE player, you know, just throw on 10 of these and you know you were good to go. And now they move on to mods and customization. So they want to cut down on managing mods. They want to remove limitations that create confusing experiences so they can break down barriers to make build crafting more fun and approachable, give more players understandable ways to earn mods, remove the need to wait for 801 to sell a specific mod, which is great, then retune mods to give players more forms of experience while also tampering down on areas of power creep. So this is definitely going to be a way they try to balance the game a little bit. But as you see, we now have a mod customization screen. It's kind of like the transmod customization screen. You can see everything right there. You don't have to keep going in and out of your armor. You can equip stuff, and what's really interesting is that the power is 1800, so that can give us a little hint of what we're going towards. And the resilience bot now costs 4 energy instead of 3, and then 2 for the smaller one. So I don't know if resilience is going to get a change since they are buffing that, well, I guess nerfing it because they're giving it a higher cost. But yeah, so resilience might not see much of a change, but it is going to cost more. Then again, they just have another picture shown here. So once you have everything unselected, you can just see all your mods currently equipped in gear. And an interesting part about this is that this also does seem that it's going to show the champion mods you have equipped. And this is probably what the new artifact's going to look like. I don't know if they just kind of snuck that in there as a teaser, but I'm pretty sure that's the artifact. And then on top of that, you can also swap over to see your weapon. I guess if you need to mix and match, customize anything, because obviously the weapon's not going to change, but if you just want to see what perks are on and maybe to synergize with gear, that's really cool. So all of this is just quality of life so far. Obviously this is nothing like huge change to the mod system. It's going to be a lot easier to actually build mods and earn mods, which is going to be really cool. Now this is where the game's going to start to change. We have mod application details. So in the first sentence you see right here, mod energy types are being removed. So no more having to use elemental charge with the stasis armor piece. You can just run that on literally anything. And I think this change alone is going to open up new builds because you're just going to be able to put together things that just weren't previously available to you. They're also converting the combat style socket to an additional mod socket for your armor slot, which is interesting. And they're also going to be reducing the energy cost of a lot of the mods, which is going to give you even more opportunities to make different builds, which is crazy. This whole paragraph right here alone is game changing. But I promise you, this is literally just the beginning. And then mods that provided weapon benefits, things like hand cannons, or specifically it says hand cannon loader right here, will now just be based on their damage type. So I imagine you're just gonna have like kinetic reloader. So that means you don't have to swap in and out if you're going to a PvP match. If you're trying to take a specific, primary weapon reloader, you could just swap on kinetic reloader if it is a kinetic based weapon. I guess you will still have to swap between kinetic and energy depending on the elemental type, but I feel like that's a lot easier than having to search through the entire thing and find the specific weapon type that's there. And then another crazy change, artifact mods are now going to be translated into unlockable perks. They will no longer need to be socketed in, but rather unlocked for the duration of the season once earned and are passively applied to your loadout. So this means now when you unlock a mod, it's just a perk unlocked for you for the entire season. It doesn't have to go in your armor piece, which means you're going to have some more slots for other stuff, which is going to make you even more powerful. And then, for example, it says, if you have anti-barrier weapon unlocked for pulse rifle, unless it has an intrinsic, thing built into it, will just always have anti-barrier, so you don't have to slot in an anti-barrier mod anymore. But now with the current system being able to unlock everything, obviously that could seem a little OP, so they are going to rein that back down. So artifact mods will now only be able to unlock 12 again, kind of like they were in the past, but they are going to be reducing the cost of resetting to nothing. Literally, you can just do it whenever you want to. You have 12 passive perks that you can unlock throughout the entirety of the season, and you don't have to worry about equipping them in your armor. I think this is a really nice change. This is going to be really, really cool. This is going to amplify build crafting a lot, because just think, now you can have weaken clear active in this current season, but also still be able to take class armor, mods that now also don't require an elemental type and are probably going to also have reduced cost. So as you can see, like, this is going to be kind of crazy. And then since artifice armor doesn't matter as much anymore, since you don't have to have that extra, artifact mod slot, they're going to be reworking it. So there's going to be a unique mod that will grant you stats to your character, like the strength, ability, intellect. I would imagine it's going to be for all 6 of them. So this is going to help you round out your builds even more, and I think this is going to make Artifice Armor even more valuable, because there's sometimes where you're like 97 on a stat, you throw this thing on, and now you're going to have that 100, which is going to make getting triple 100s, maybe even quad 100s, even more easier. But now we got some even more changes. So game, set, match. The long-awaited change we've all been waiting for is that match game is getting removed from higher difficulty activities. We don't have to worry about match game anymore, which is just amazing. This is going to let you actually focus on, builds that you want to use, and it's not going to be limited to you because you have to equip a certain elemental type. They are going to be adjusting shields across the board, though, the shield resistance to 50%, and it's going to be similar to Gambit now. So just think about that. That's going to be kind of what you're playing around pretty much 24/7. So if you're going into a GM, you can take your volatile round SNG build, and you don't have to worry about equipping a long range scout rifle because it has a specific element based on it. They also said they're going to have some ways to do bonus damage to shields, which is nice, and they'll tell us more about that before the launch of Lightfall. And then they also state this will help you synergize your perks and abilities around a single damage type rather than diluting them to across several different ones. So again, yeah, you can play heavily into Arc, it's not going to matter, heavily into Solar Void. This is going to be such a fun change. Now, we are the champions. A lot of people hate champions, so they're trying to make it a little bit easier, to stun them. So they're still going to have the champion mods from the artifact, but they're also implementing things for each subclass. So barrier champions specifically are going to be based on Solar Void and Strand. Obviously, we're not going to know much about Strand right now, but while you use volatile rounds from your weapon, it will pierce the barrier champions and stun them. So that's honestly really, really cool. And then also, while you're radiant, this will also let all your weapons pierce champions and stun them. So you could see a point of this where you don't even have to take a champion mod, because if you're playing something like a warlock, you can get pretty much infinite melee, or even a throw-in hammer titan, or even hunter. Literally all of them could do it. You could just always make yourself radiant, and you could just always defeat a champion shield. Like, that is kind of crazy, and I could see some crazy potential coming out of this one specifically. But on top of that, we have Overload. So if you jolt them, that will stun an Overload champion. If you suppress them, that will stun them, and if you slow them with stasis, that will also stun them. Now, I don't know if they're going to fix the interaction between stasis and Overload champions. I hope they do, if they are really playing into the subclass of stasis with that. But Jolt's already extremely strong. You throw a Jolt grenade now, it's going to stun an Overload champion. You don't have to worry about taking an Overload mod. Suppressing them, very, very strong. Wave Splitter can suppress people. That gives it intrinsic overload, essentially. A Tractor Cannon can suppress people. That's intrinsic overload. And then obviously just, stasis in general, slowing an enemy down. That's also going to overload them. Unstoppable champions. If you blind them, they're going to be stunned, which is really cool. On top of that, if you freeze and shatter them with stasis, that will also stun them. Really, really cool. And then Solar Ignitions will also stun them. Unstoppables is probably going to be the harder one to set up compared to the other two, but even then it's still gonna be really easy, especially with like the stasis. You just freeze them over and over with something like a stasis turret. Solar Ignitions is, unless they change the Scorch mechanic, can be a little bit more tedious to get. You kind of have to use a lot of abilities unless you have stuff really focused on Scorch, and they are going to be changing a bunch of exotics to work with 3.0 verbs, so that could be really interesting. And then again, blinding, just throw a blinding grenade and you're good to go. If you have a blinding grenade with a fragment to jolt them, that means your grenade now is going to be able to stun unstoppable and overload champions pretty much all the time, which is just really, really cool. I really, really like this change, and I think this is definitely going to make champions way, way less of a threat and annoying to deal with like they are right now. And now we have the biggest change. If those other changes weren't already huge, let's move on to the armor charge mod. So they are pretty much changing up the entirety of the mod system. We know that there aren't going to be elemental specific base anymore, which is good, but now everything is also going to work a little different. So cycling an armor mod that uses an armor charge system gives you access to the system. The functionality of take a charge, which is picking up an orb power, grant 1 stack of charge light, is now granted to you whenever you have a armor charge mod equipped. So if you look right here though, it says picking up an orb power is going to grant 1 stack of the charge. What this is talking about, I assume, is going to give you 1 stack of armor charge. So once we get later into this, you'll understand a little bit more. So now charger light is basically going to be armor charge, and on top of elemental wells, that is going to be changed too. So many mods previously that created elemental wells, it gave you stacks of charger light, had been converted to instead give you an orb of power. So now things like elemental ordnance will create an orb instead of an elemental well. And that orb of power obviously can be used to get you a armor charge, because if you just have any of those mods equipped, you will be granted this base intrinsic perk. So you can just always have an armor charge system. They're kind of trying to streamline it instead of having to have, you know, charger light all the time, or elemental wells focus on it. Everything's just going to be based behind this armor charge, and there's just going to be multiple ways to actually get into that system. And this is, you can now hold between 0 and 3 stacks of armor charge by default, which appears as a buff in the status effect area. So, you know, just like before, now you can just have 3 stacks of armor charge instead of 2 charger light. Then it also says by cycling chest armor mods charged up, you can increase your maximum number of armor charge stacks as high as 6. So 6 is the highest they can go. You have a base 3, so that could be something interesting to build around. Then some mods provide a passive ongoing benefit while you have an armor charge. While you have one of these armor mods equipped, every 10 seconds a stack of armor charge falls off if not consumed by something else. And it also says that players can extend this decay time by cycling the extended charge that is in a class item slot. And then, for example, with Font of Wisdom, as we already know, you get elemental well, you're gonna get more intellect. This will now basically give you more intellect, and then every single 10 seconds an armor charge will fall off. So if you have 3, you have pretty much 30 seconds of increased intellect, but obviously you can re-get armor charges pretty much all the time. So you can pretty much have this constant uptime of this if you do build around it correctly. Now some mods will consume 1, 2, 3, or all stacks of armor charge on particular triggering, granting you an instantaneous benefit when they do. So I'd imagine this is probably talking about the mod where you can throw your grenade and you're going to get pretty much half your super energy back. But on top of that, you have things like high energy fire. Getting a kill is probably only going to consume 1 armor charge. What's really cool though is with things like Font of Might, this is a timer based thing. So if you have 3 armor charges, I would imagine you just have 30 seconds of Font of Might, because it's only going to reduce an armor charge every 10 seconds. And it seems that just having an armor charge equipped will just give you the benefit. So I don't know how Font of Might's going to work with that, but that could be very, very powerful. And then it says a few other mods: stacks on stacks, powerful friends, time dilation, can all modify the armor charge system for you without providing you with a specific benefit while you have armor charge. So stacks and stats, obviously you're going to get more armor charges, I guess, when you pick up an orb. Powerful friends, radiant light, the ones when you cash your super, you give people armor stacks. Powerful friends, when you get armor stacks, you'll get other people armor stacks. And then time dilation, I assume, is going to be the one that's going to make your armor stacks last longer. I'm not exactly sure with the way it currently works in the game, but let's have to wait and see. And now finishers will consume armor stacks and not dip into your super energy. So I'd imagine this change is going to be about, if you're taking special finisher, you now will actually reduce the armor charge instead of using your super, which also is going to open up a whole new plethora of builds, because there's certain mods in the game where if you get finishers, you create wells, which you now obviously create orbs. You pick up those orbs, you will get your armor stacks, and you can pretty much just have infinite special ammo if you're just finishing 24/7, because you're always going to have armor stacks and you're never going to be using your super energy, and you could just always have that super for going into literally anything in the game. So these are crazy changes. It is streamlining it a little bit, but it also is going to open up the possibility for so many more builds, and I am so excited to try all these out. And then if you thought we were done there, we have elemental wells evolved. So with many of the mods previously created or benefited from elemental wells are being changed to focus on orbs of power. So again, melee kills will create orbs, grenade kills will create orbs. There are already other charger light mods that kind of do that. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to change those up, but some aspects of elemental wells aren't going away entirely. Instead of creating elemental wells, each subclass will now create damage type specific spawn objects. So if you have arc equipped, you get a grenade kill, you will create onyx traces and orb of power. If you have solar, you create a fire sprite. If you have void, you create void breaches. Now I don't know what either of those are. These are completely 2 brand new things from my understanding. Obviously they're probably just going to be something that kind of sits on the ground or comes to you. It's probably going to play heavily into your subclass as well, because obviously you have things like stasis shards. If you have a stasis equipped, now a grenade kill will create a stasis shard. That is very strong. And with things like stasis shards and onyx traces, kind of being the main point of like this like extra object on their class, I would imagine Solar and Void are going to be somewhat similar to those. And this strain will also have its own thing. We just don't know what it is yet. Then it says, for example, while the Ember of Tempering Fragment is active, Solar Hunters will now create a fire sprite when you defeat an enemy with a solar weapon. So that is really, really cool. And picking up these objects will also grant ability energy or have other effects depending on your subclass build. For example, if you're running a solar subclass that has a new Ember of Mercy fragment equipped, right there is confirmed we're getting new fragments. I thought we would be getting these maybe with the current season we're in, but it seems like we're going to be getting these next season, which is still really, really cool. If you pick up a fire sprite, you will be granted restoration. Now, I think a cool part of this is since this new fragment is heavily playing into, you know, the fire sprite, the new thing they're adding to the game, I would imagine we're also going to see Void as well playing into, you know, some brand new fragments that involve Void breaches, just like we have Station Shards and Ionic Traces for the other two. They're probably going to round those out, try to make them very similar to the other two, so that's something you could potentially also be looking forward to. It does say that the number of these interactions will be limited at launch, but we intend to add to this system moving forward. So that's really cool. I think right now it's still going to be a good amount of stuff. I mean, literally, if you have Elemental Ordnance, you throw a grenade, you're going to get an Overpower and a Stasis Shard. You're going to get so many armor charge systems that can play into your other things, because now Charge or Light can kind of work with Elemental Wells in a way, because it's all based around armor charge. I don't know. This is going to be ridiculous. I literally cannot wait for all that, and I think you're gonna be very, very strong. But they also do want to note the balancing act. Essentially, these are a lot of cool changes, and on paper this does seem like you could be potentially broken, but they said they want to look at every single mod, and some were changed or just moved to other slots, transition to other abilities, or just plain out removed. So with the removal of armor energy, it says that some mods just became redundant and were removed. Some ability energy gains, stat bonuses, and weapon damage bonuses from mods have been reduced, though we've also added some new mods to expand your build possibilities. And then it also says not all previous builds are going to be able to be recreated one-to-one, but the system has been changed enough to open up a lot of new possibilities with the mods and ability combinations. So I love this sentence because I'm so excited to create new builds for y'all. I honestly wouldn't want the builds to be one-to-one. I want there to be new metas. I want there to be new ways you can play around every single subclass. And I think with these changes, the strain's obviously going to be very, very fun, but we're going to have to go back and relook at a lot of our other builds that we currently have in the game, because they're going to perform completely different now. And then we could say RIP, because Warmon cells are not coming along next season. They've pretty much been nerfed into the ground. I know some people started to use them a little bit this season, but let's be honest, they're just nowhere strong, especially with these other changes coming to our other mods, and removing from the game is probably just a good thing. It frees up a lot more space for other mods that you could just visually see, and no one's ever really going to run these over this new system. So pretty much as a TLDR of this, they're basically just trying to balance the game a little bit more with a lot of these changes, so we're just not power creeped into oblivion, which is very cool. Also, loadout systems, very, very nice. It's going to be so easy to change these mods out. There are going to be so much more builds that can be created with all the brand new systems. You don't have to worry about champions anymore as much. You don't have to worry about match game pretty much at all anymore. And overall, I just absolutely adore this. I am so excited for this to drop when Lightfall comes out. This is going to be probably the main thing I focus on, other than trying to beat the campaign, you know, to start off with, because I seriously think a lot of the builds that we currently have in the game are going to be changed up a lot. I still think Titans will probably have the grenade spam build with storm grenades, but there are going to be a lot of different ways that you have to build into it to get that to work now, which is very, very cool in my opinion. Low-key, the champion change is also really, really cool, so you just don't have to worry about it as much anymore. And then also the passive perk unlocks with the artifact. Super, super cool change, and you don't really have to worry about taking up a slot for your armor because it's just a perk down. So now with all that, if we take a look at this picture again, you have your stat-based mods, but then you have 3 mods that you could slot literally whatever into, and I don't know, this is going to be really, really crazy. I'm super excited for all this. Let me know what you all think about this in the comments below. If you watched this all the way through, I truly appreciate the support. I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on everything, since this is a huge part of my channel and how everyone's going to be playing Destiny once Lightfall comes out. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoy. If you learn anything new, just consider doing all the normal YouTube stuff. I'm on the road to 30,000 subscribers. It's right around the corner, and any support from you all is truly appreciated. But obviously, just know watching this video is way more than enough, and I truly thank y'all so much for watching. Hope you all have a great day, and peace.